Hello everyone, Agent Librarian here with part of Dawn of War. We're doing Mission 8, the last part, faced off against the Eldar and their strongest unit, the Avatar of Cain, in the city. Right upon defeating them, the Chaos Sorcerer swooped in and grabbed the prize. So now we actually know for a fact that Chaos is in, so we're gonna go hunt it down.
The great enemy managed to steal the key from out of our very grasp. Damn the Eldar and their arrogance. Had we not been delayed in reaching the key, we could have denied the ruinous powers their prize. We still have no idea what this key does. According to the Eldar Witch, Inquisitor Toth holds these answers. If this is true, then he has a good deal to explain. The least of which is not why he would withhold information that could allow us to better fight the forces of chaos. Could he be tainted? The thought is unimaginable. Even more concerning, we know now that we face more than mere chaos cults, but members of an actual traitor legion, the very Marines who turned against our Emperor some 10 millennia ago. Luckily, our scouts were able to track their sorcerer and his entourage back to their base of operations. It is located not far from our current position. I relish in the opportunity to bring death to these blasphemous traitors.
So, orcs still being orcs. In the middle of the radar, the 8-pointed star with the red skull thing, that's the chaos symbol. Huge, weird, glowing line, I'm assuming is related to the chasm that shows up in this mission. This guy is the regular cultist unit. They're like the weakest, the most common nuke that the Chaos faction will pop up in this game's combat. And they're meant to represent like the average collective representative of cult groups that actually are part of the Chaos faction. These would be the actual Space Marines.
My lord, blood ravens approach from the south.
How did they get so close? My lord, these flies are minor annoyances. We have the key and ample bodies to imprison the blood ravens behind a wall of corpses while we complete the ceremony.
He means the cultists.
Assurances leave me cold, Sindri.
Take a bath.
Events have proven my words true in every turn, my lord. We are not in danger. Events have proven you fortunate, sorcerer. To what do you owe this present bout of nauseous optimism? We have received a message, Lord Bale. We have a new ally who is more than ready to betray the Blood Ravens.
I wonder who that could be.
Excellent. Prepare for what is to come and dispose of this idiot.
Why? How have I failed?
You were stupid enough to personally deliver ill news to Lord Bale. And we cannot abide stupidity.
Well, that sounds like a very inefficient way to run an army, and oh god, I'm dead.
Brother Mattiel, report.
The Chaos Forces have rent an impassable chasm through the center of the city and have taken up position in a temple. The battle is upon us, Captain.
We are arriving at your position momentarily. Hold the chasm. I will deal with the temple.
It will be done.
Now he says that, but it is actually very easy for him to die.
You are finished, Apothecary. Had the Emperor not intended I suffer, then I would feel no pain. What foul acts are these heathens
maybe,
involved
but
in?
They are performing a ceremony to release the key from its bindings. We must stop them.
Yes. We will need to break down the mighty doors of that once glorious temple. It appears they have rent a chasm across the city, stopping us from reaching the other side. An outpost with machine cults located here gives us access to the vehicles we will surely require. Secure the outpost and stop that ceremony.
So the main goal in the beginning is just to get enough forces to the other side of the map where that machine cult is, the red on the lower part, so you can actually secure it. On normal, it's not too, you know, too demanding of a task. You just gotta get there, on time. I'm guessing that on high, as always, I'm assuming that on higher difficulty, there's an actual risk of you losing the machine cult if you're too careless and take too long.
Activating jump pack. For the Emperor under fire.
I'm trying to soften up.
Squad broken.
Oh, there it is.
Activating jump pack.
Get out.
Squad morale restored.
Alright, that did quick.
Take and hold. Ever vigilant.
The three commanders make it easier to hold that one. Key goal is obviously to get the relic. You're gonna need it for the better unit. Like I said, our main goal is just securing this area, mainly to just get a lot of the free strategic points that on lower difficulties are barely a threat of being taken by anything. And that gives you a lot of points, which you'll need in order to build all the heavy units you're gonna need in order to punch your way through these guys. So I'm gonna talk about the Chaos faction mostly, but I do wanna tackle that apothecary.
I stand ready.
Is one of the secondary ones, but also this guy.
Under fire.
Yep, timing.
There is no such thing as innocence, only to be self-guilt.
Try to at least use some of these abilities.
What's your order? For the Emperor! For the Emperor!
So the apothecaries are the medics. It's pretty clear when the way the captain talks to them. But they're not. They also have another important role in Space Marine chapter, where Space Marines are genetically enhanced humans. Part of the process by which they become those superhumans involves something called the gene seed. I don't know the whole detail, but the gene seed is key to creating more Space Marines. I know that very clearly. And so there's a lot of plot threads in the Space Marine storylines around keeping and what they do with these gene seeds and how they make sure that people, so on and so forth. And now the apothecary, alongside being the medic, it's his job to make sure to recover gene seeds from Space Marines if they fall in battle. Because these gene seeds, again, I don't know the whole reason behind it, but they grow inside.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah, I probably should have saved this for this. Nah, they'll be fine. I hope. But yeah, they grow inside the bodies.
Yes, most beneficent one.
Of space. So if a Space Marine dies, and regardless, as the of death, if the Space Marine matures to a certain age, that's how they acquire more genes.
What's your order? Fear our wrath.
But that's like a main part of their goal.
For the Emperor.
On their main task, I should say. Now that's regarding the apothecary. So now we're going to talk about chaos.
Under fire.
Are these guys gonna go straight to it? No, that's it.
Yes, Lord.
So the chaos faction is more of a general, all-encompassing label. It's not an accurate thing really regarding one specific person.
Yes, Lord.
There just isn't like
Under fire.
Build routine 7 to 1.
Knowledge is
initiated.
hide it well.
so chaos is more the label used by a lot of them.
Your command.
It tends to represent their allegiance and also like the the concept. It's a way to sort of over art net grab all the people that belong to the same idea, even if there's a lot of variety and nuance to the group as a whole. Just like with the Imperial, there's like a 100 different types of space chapters. In the case of Chaos, what it's actually about. So the warp, the thing that this setting uses in order to travel, across space at a very fast rate.
Maintain attack formation. Activating jump pad.
Yeah.
Take and hold. Under fire.
I stand ready.
Pretty good. I lost the other apothecary. No, regardless, the warp is the thing that is connected to the reality that it uses thoughts and emotions as the core of how it works. Well, it's not an empty area of space. That's actually something that the more ignorant people of in the setting, the ignorant humans, who are deliberately kept that way, believe that the warp is just this empty, made-up concept that it's just there to be used and nothing more. In actuality, the warp is a place with its own inhabitants and its own goals and its own preference. So, just like how the warp is tied to the thoughts and emotions of the material reality, the creatures in the warp feed off of these things, and they are also, to a great extent, bound to these things.
Stay vigilant, brothers.
So a major conflict that arises from this is simply that those the creatures in the warp are motivated to, well, they are inclined towards stronger emotions and thoughts and actions. They don't settle for the basic. Like I said, they're not neutral towards it, so they don't just absorb things passively. They are very much driven to pursue these stronger emotions and these stronger thoughts, and by extension, they seek to promote these things in the material world. So it gets to the point where the beings of the warp will, through the psychic mind, because that is how they interact with everything, they'll reach out into the material world and try to pull in and draw the attention of those on the other side, on the material plane, and be like, hey, you should do this, or hey, why don't you do this? Because
Activating jump pad.
Vigilant, brothers. Main goal is just to get to the other side. I don't really interested in. Thankfully, the jetpack is really good at getting out of the way. So I just need to get them to touch base, and the game registers that as me reaching the stone. once they reach it,
The outpost is secured.
they'll be appearing on this.
The doors to this temple were designed to stop all but the most violent impacts. To bring them down, we will need the power of hellfires and predators.
I think that was Predator. On it's the two tanks that they have to call upon. So now that I've reached here, my main concern is just gathering a little bit more power, but then
by the power of the land raiders.
making my way
Seek
towards
the
the base.
privilege of their service at the machine cult.
So, get another one of these guys. So
the Emperor!
Yes, most beneficent one.
now we haven't lost these guys.
What is your will?
Awaiting
So
orders.
in Chaos's pursuit, the beings of the beings of the warp tend to be called demons, but you know, I'm probably gonna repeat that a lot. But they're the creatures of the warp.
Yes, Lord.
They'll seek out minds and willing people from the material world and try to get them to
Initiated.
do stuff, because actions tend to inspire stronger emotions and
Yes, Lord.
inflict greater just psychic feedback and emotional feedback. Like, the more stuff that happens and the more dramatic stuff that happens,
For the Emperor!
the better at least it is for the team.
Yes,
At least
my lord.
as far as their motivation is.
Stay vigilant, brothers.
There is no such thing as innocence, only degrees of guilt.
Doing a little bit of
My
progress.
aim shall not falter.
Here to serve. I exist to serve.
Under fire!
Build routine 721 initiated. I await your instructions.
So that's where we'll get we get the cultists in the faction of Chaos.
Build routine 721 initiated.
Now there's a lot of varying, degrees and reasons for why
My knowledge is at your disposal.
these guys would actually, do this work with Chaos thing. Suffice to say that it's mainly the result of how tough things are in the 40k setting. Both in spite and because of the Imperium as a faction, the way it does things.
Its gates unbarred and unguarded.
These guys are not made for.
For the Emperor!
Fear not the Psyker.
Squad morale restored.
And so the cultists are mainly just a collection of people who, for various reasons, and because of how hard things are in this setting, are very inclined towards actually making pacts and working with creatures of the warp. Now, the goal of the demons is usually to find a way, like I said, aside from inspiring greater acts of emotional and psychic debauchery
Yes, most
of one form
beneficent
or
one.
another. Their
I
goal is
shall
also
obey.
to breach the barrier that
Build
technically
routine
exists between
721
stand ready.
initiated.
the warp and the physical reality,
Moving out.
because they want to, obviously, if they can reach into the physical reality, they get a much stronger kickback from stuff that's going on. I also think
Fear
it's
not
just
the Psyker.
simple curiosity on their part.
For the Emperor!
They want to be involved in the things that are going on in the physical world. So in the case of cultists, their whole thing is usually trying to form pacts and agreements with the creatures from the warp. So they'll perform these acts that will hopefully strengthen the connection between the warp and the physical world in the areas that they're in, and that will allow the demons to make their way to the physical world, and in doing so, the demon will promise, power, riches, what have you. It obviously varies depending on what the particular cultist or group of cultists are looking for. I don't know, but do I need that quick? No. I just line up on this.
I await your instructions. Build routine 7 to
Knowledge is
1
power.
initiated.
Hide it well.
And their goal is to just, perpetuate this bond. I was messed that up. So regular cultists are just, like I said, regular civilians or, sometimes soldiers who turn to the warp in desperation or ambition, any various combination. The Space Marines, who are part of Chaos, do so for the same reasons, but obviously you have to take things into a bit of escalation because they're superhuman. So even if their motivations and actions can very easily be related to what you might expect from a normal person,
Here to serve.
in concept, they tend to have very dramatic equivalent. Sorry, inverse of that. You gotta amp it up a bit more, because obviously what might be overwhelming, unreasonable pressure for a normal person, which would make them break and in desperation seek out the help of something in the warp, won't be as heavy a burden for a normal, for a average Space Marine. So again, you gotta double or triple the amount or whatever. That's semantics. The point is that ultimately the idea is still the same. Space Marines, Chaos, who defect to Chaos, are seeking to do the same thing. Form a pact with a demon or use the demons as sort of a symbiotic / parasitic relationship. Use them in order to strengthen themselves as a faction, as an army, in order to get or do whatever they want. In some cases, it's very directly destroy / attack the Imperium. Other times, that's just a happy byproduct of whatever they're actually after.
Yes, most beneficent one. Build routine 7 to 1 initiated.
My aim shall not falter.
Predator deployed. Predator tank here. Predator deployed. Predator tank here. Under fire. Approaching target. Land Raider armored transport here. Moving out. Activating jetpack. Armored transport here. Under fire.
To be the Terminator guy. Should be able to get it.
Awaiting orders. Stay vigilant, brother. Predator tank here. Predator at your command.
So, Chaos, this is an example where it's a bit hard to see, but these guys are actually, the name, possessed. So I don't know how to what extent, but the idea is that these guys are Marines that have been possessed by demons. And again, depending on the particular Space Marine and demon, and the extent at which this has been, it can be a very either one-to-one situation where the demon has taken complete control and nothing remains of the original Space Marine. Other times it can be a bit of a, combo, shared mind type thing where the two are kind of riding at the same time together.
His will be done. As you command.
Hope is the first step on the road to disappointment.
The Emperor protects.
The Tango usually something.
Land Raider at your disposal. Predator tank here. Death has arrived.
Under fire! Generators ready.
Great timing.
Deep striking. Yes. Take and hold.
So these guys are, the name Terminator mainly comes from the armor they're wearing. Now the idea with them is just that the armor is meant to be a more advanced, more powerful armor than compared to the regular armor that most of the Space Marines use. And for reasons, again, part of the lore, it's an armor that's harder to make and rarer in the present time of the setting, the 40 millennium. So some chapters have them, some don't, and in most cases it's a very rare thing for any of them to have, which tends to lead to them being very protective and very choosy about, is that the right word? They're selective about who they let wield them because of how rare and difficult to keep they are and maintain. So the idea there is usually that whichever Space Marine is wielding this armor is usually one of their best.
As you command.
And this tends to lead into a situation, the obviously self-serving situations where the only people who will be seen wielding these things in the modern age are the ones who are best at using it.
For the Emperor!
And generally the best of these. So they'll usually be used in the most dire of circumstances, or it's like, alright, we need the heavy, we need to drop the hammer in hard, and it also comes with this thing where they're able to teleport into combat because of how valuable they are.
None shall survive. Under fire! None shall survive.
another trait that shows the level of tech and resourcefulness where they have is the teleport ability. Because the teleporters are also harder to maintain in the setting. So the idea is that if you're using a teleporter, it's because you really need to use one. And by the similar extent, the people who use the teleporter are the ones who are needed at a very crucial moment. So again, usually an indication of how valued this particular person or fighter is. Because they're being provided not just the best armor, but they're being provided the best tactical advantage.
His will be done.
His will be done. Under fire.
Death has arrived.
And this is a very annoying but also very clever gap.
Death has arrived.
It's basically a path they create, the AI created,
Death has arrived.
to guarantee that getting to their base
Death has arrived.
is extremely difficult and costly.
Death has arrived.
Play a bunch of turrets in between them.
Death has arrived. Death has arrived. Death has arrived. Death has arrived.
Sorry for the repeat clips.
Moving out.
And
The machine spirit is prepared. Death has arrived. Death has arrived.
We await your command. Make way. Make way. Under fire. None shall survive.
Predator at your command.
Under fire.
well, that was a waste of time. So this is their machine pit. At least to me, it looks kind of similar to the one that the Space Marines with Blood Ravens use. But there are a lot of notable differences. We're probably not going to get to see it in this one, but the inside of it actually has teeth, like a mouth. And it's implied that it's using
Under fire.
Land Raiders at your disposal. Predator at your command. His will be done. Land Raiders at your disposal.
Your will, take and hold. We await your command.
problem with a lot of units is you always gotta make sure you're active. Getting them to move in units.
Land Raiders at your disposal.
So you'll see it in a lot of their structures where they have some tech, but here it is. You can actually see the mouth. Instead of opening up to like a mechanical area to infer stuff that's going on inside, it opens up to what is meant to be, I assume, a gateway into the warp. And it extends to like some of their fighters where they have regular guys, but a lot of them are all augmented or given some form of
Emperor's finest.
demonic attribute.
Land Raider armored transport here.
It's
Death
your
has
HQ.
arrived.
For some reason, they tend to put these in groups. Now, I do get making more than one, but I don't know what the exact advantage is there in having two at the same time.
What is your order? Moving out. Squad broken. Onward to glory. Under fire.
Okay, so I might have lost.
Weapons at ready. Predator deployed. Squad morale restored. Ever vigilant.
Predator at your command. The machine spirit is prepared.
So they can be, these guys can be pretty solid in their own way.
None shall stand in our path. The Emperor's finest reporting. We await your command. By his glorious name.
So the Chaos faction makes, it's a combination of Space Marine tech and, general tech from the Imperial faction, combined with any boost or attribute they can get from the Warp and its denizens, the demons.
Take and hold.
Land Raider armored transport here.
Good.
As you command.
Your will? A moment of laxity spawns a lifetime of heresy. For the Emperor!
Fear denies faith.
I'm trying to
Take and hold.
get this back quickly.
For the Emperor! Yes. We seek the enemy. We await your command. A moment of laxity spawns a lifetime of heresy.
Land Raider armored transport here.
Now the goal is just
None shall
make my
survive.
way here. Hopefully they can get through this path without getting stuck.
Under fire.
Luckily, the AI will hopefully target the end. There you can see the red stuff is meant to imply that they're getting some sort of demonic boost. Yeah, the only problem here is one of the Terminator squads is going in first and getting most of the attacks delivered at them for some reason. It looks like the Chaos faction realized what I'm up to, and they finally send in a force to retaliate. It's not working, because, well, it's not working too well.
Land Raider armored transport here.
I took care of them.
Once more, we go to battle.
Obviously, I have a bit of a heavy-handed advantage at this point. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. We're not supposed to be able to sneak through there.
Land Raider armored transport here.
Death to the enemy! Death to the enemy!
That must be one of the... There it is.
None shall survive. Death to the enemy!
Yeah, the only annoying part there is... That's their artillery. So this guy, the guy just blew up with a normal-ish tank for them. But this here is meant to be sort of a possessed weapon. So yeah, the demons don't just possess
None shall survive.
people, they also can possess vehicles. I don't know if it's a preference thing, or if it's a, the level of demons, the weaker demons are content, or they have to be content with getting them.
A moment of laxity spawns a lifetime of heresy.
I'm pretty sure these are landmines that are getting possessed, yeah.
None shall survive.
At your command. Weapons at ready. It is time.
The Emperor's finest reporting. The Emperor's finest reporting.
There it is. Gates went down.
Yes.
The doors are broken. With haste, stop them before they can finish.
Now we have a
Sir,
little
The
surprise.
Imperial Guard have arrived.
Victory is ours.
Nah, quite.
Wait, why did they not attack? What
Well,
betrayal is this?
They are attacking, just
Space Marines, Cleanse these heretics.
So yeah, this is the utter danger that comes when fighting chaos.
Fear denies faith. Activating jump pack.
Allies have a tendency of defecting. They're also here, by the way, with the whole group here. We just wiped out.
Inquisitor Toth has arrived at your request.
Took
And
them
what
long
do our
enough.
scouts say?
The guard's distraction was a success. The Chaos Lord and his host escaped. We are, however, tracking their movements and questioning some of the traitor guard that we captured.
How could I not have seen this? How is it I am blind when it matters the most?
Are you referring to these traitorous guardsmen or the destruction of your homeworld, Cyrene?
I should have seen the rot before it spread. Instead, I was blind for far too long. I put my own world to the torch. I killed with the Inquisition's eager sanction and watched too many innocents die in a holy firestorm. And yet, here I am again at yet another doorstep, with the executioner's blade in my very hand.
Blessed is the mind too small for doubt, Gabriel. Perhaps there is truth in there, for the both of us.
I still believe, old friend. I believe in the sovereign might of the Golden Throne,
Emperor.
and in the purity of the Imperium.
But you have lost faith in yourself.
Only in what I see, Isidore. Only in what I see.
And what is it that you see, Captain?
I see conspirators and liars more concerned with their own agenda than the will of the Emperor.
I am
But
not
what
so
else is
easily cowed by such displays, Captain.
You lied to me and cost me men.
Better they die, their blood pure. If you feel warranted in handing out recriminations, then their deaths are on your head. I warned you to leave this world, to leave Tartarus for the warp storm.
Your words still ring untrue, Inquisitor. I know you were here before we arrived.
I am not in the habit of explaining my actions, Captain. But yes, I was here before you arrived, stalking after horrors to strip my knights of their dreams.
The same horrors that the legions of chaos seek.
On Tartarus, there are no coincidences, Captain. There is only the storm that winnows the faithful from the heretic.
Are we faithful men? Good servants of the Emperor? It is time for us to put aside our differences. What do they seek, Toth? What do you seek here?
This world is cursed, Captain. Thousands of years ago, an artifact of ancient evil power was lost here. The forces of chaos seek this artifact. They've sought it for centuries, but have never held all the pieces of the puzzle.
And now they do.
An Imperial excavation team uncovered the first marker, and word somehow got to the enemy. With the knowledge of the exact planet and the first marker, it was a simple matter to uncover the remainder. Now they have the last piece necessary. A key to unearth the artifact itself.
What is this artifact?
A stone called the Maledictum. It contains a creature of great evil, a creature of chaos. The stone imprisons a demon, one of untold power.
How is it possible that the citizens of Tartarus did not know this? These artifacts lay buried beneath their own cities.
From what I surmise, the demon within the Maledictum may be hidden, but it is not powerless. It can still influence people with visions and madness. The ancient text in the Registratum Malpheus speaks of a warp storm that visited this system at an age when many Space Marine chapters were still young. The storm drove the inhabitants of this planet insane. Under the demon's influence, they hid the markers and buried the Maledictum to protect it against hunters like myself. When colonists returned to this world, they remained ignorant of the perils. They built over the dark places, never knowing what lay beneath.
And the Eldar, Did they seek this power for themselves?
No. It was they who imprisoned the demon in the first place. The Elder fiercely safeguard knowledge of the stone against all others, going so far as to interfere in our efforts to find it. As Chaos's most ancient enemy, they see themselves as the only capable defense against its influence. And we have paid for their arrogance.
I assume
I'm
there is
sure they
still
would say the
time to
same.
avert disaster.
This is already a disaster. The power of the Maledictum is enough to turn the faithful and drive men mad. Many of the Imperial Guard and local population have already turned, as you've seen. It's affecting you, and your men as well. I can feel it. It is calling the warp storm to eclipse this system. It wants to trap us here, with it, so it can best of us to serve its twisted will. This is why I encouraged you to leave. Why I still encourage it.
You know I cannot do that. I will not shrink away in the face of evil.
I would do no less. Enough. Let us end this bickering and face our enemy united. Together, we have a better chance of finding and destroying the Maledictum.
They are weak, terrified of the power that you alone are strong enough to control.
Broke that ego.
Yours. Yours for the taking. But they mean to destroy it, those small-minded fools. Think of the good you could do in the name of the Emperor. Think of the power you could wield. It is all yours for the taking. The Maledictum is mine.
So obviously that's a bit overt for the sake of the pacing of the missions, and especially at the end, the way he manages to push him to the edge. But the idea is meant to be a simplification of how the warp and chaos work. I didn't bring it up enough in this one. I think I'll try to bring it up in the next mission. But chaos, as is in the gameplay sense, tends to come off very over the top and very blunt with its visuals and at general attitude grievance. But in the way it's able to win over people to its faction, it does use that too, but it also can rely on subtlety and nuance and slowly weeding a person's resistance. And you can kind of get that idea of the fact that, the sorcerer doesn't start with the monologue in the first time we see him. So we're left to assume that that's how it's been. This has been because this has been going on since the first early missions. The sorcerer's probably been slowly breaking away at the librarian's mental defense, but that is like the general idea behind how chaos gets its followers. But we'll tackle that a bit more in the next mission. Hope to see you all then.